Well, hello and welcome again to the Medical Mastery Podcast, the podcast of the Emerald Coast Medical Association. I'm your amaranthine host, Don Davis, and I'm very happy to be here again with our returning champion, our friend, our leader, our former president of the Emerald Coast Medical Association, and perhaps our favorite podcast guest so far, Dr. Jeremy Sunseri. Dr. Sunseri, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Can we back up real quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
That word you used somewhere in there about your host, paranthony.
Who knows? I just looked it up right now, and I don't even know. It's amaranthine.
Amaranthine?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Evergreen.
Okay.
Forever and ever here.
Awesome.
Okay?
Okay.
Canonical, if
I
you
love
will. So now let's say a few words about why we're doing this again here. First of all, you were an incredible guest. Secondly, for those of you that watched the very first podcast or listened to it on your favorite podcast listening device, you noticed that it cut off relatively abruptly at about the 45-minute mark. Well, some inside baseball here is that was our very first podcast day. And despite it being episode 4, we found our technical limitations on that day, and we have subsequently revised our parameters and made things significantly better. So mad props and credit to Chris and his team at Curiosity Marketing for amending those details. But unfortunately, we lost over half of the recording that we had there, which, by the way, was incredible. And we cured cancer. I remember that distinctly.
Totally.
So we'll have to recapitulate those ideas here now. But this is a continuation of that podcast, and honestly, a continuation of a conversation with a friend of mine that I really enjoy talking to, even off camera. So with all that being said, Jeremy Sunseri, as I live and breathe, welcome back.
Shoot, it's good to be back.
Okay.
Living and breathing.
Living and breathing, as you do, as one does.
Right,
now, I also want to tell you that, my family I've been talking to about this podcast, my older brother, he called me and he was like seriously mad at the podcast cutting off. He was like, what happened? What did you do? I want that back. I was like, I know, I want it too. And I had another member of my family who was telling yet another member of my family to listen to the podcast and says, oh, you've got to listen to the Bull Rider one. You have to listen to the Bull Rider one. So,
that's a lot of bull.
No, it was a great one. So episode 4, make sure if you have not heard that one, you need to listen to that one first. It'll be necessary listening lore for this one right here. The prequel, if you will. So
yeah.
Now, as a matter of fact, in listening to our previous podcast and watching it, we had just finished talking a little bit about melanoma and kind of what it is and the scourge that it presents to us in our community and society and to humanity at large. And, you had talked about some of the aspects of how we would screen for it and remove it. I think maybe, sometimes in the lay public, there's some discussion about whether or not sunscreen is good for us or bad for us. And I wonder if, from a dermatologist perspective, you could maybe add some words and some thoughts towards that.
Yeah, all I will say is I do get a kick out of listening to it, the social media, the age of misinformation. And I hear people say, sunscreen causes skin cancer. And all I will say is, then brushing your teeth causes cavities, because that is about the craziest thing I've ever heard. There are 2 main types of sunscreen: physical blockers and chemical blockers. So physical blockers do just what they say. It's a physical block using zinc or titanium. Yeah. And those are the ones that, if people are worried about anything, I tell them just use something with that as the active ingredient. Chemical blockers are a chemical that breaks down with absorption of the sun, and so it's things like octanooctate or octanobenzoate as the active ingredient. And if you want to stop using sunscreen, you can stop using chemical blockers, but don't use physical blockers. And then don't not use physical blockers.
Yeah.
And also just cover things that you want to keep, like your nose and your ears. Wear hats and that kind of stuff goes a long way too. Now, you still get a lot of reflection, especially if you're on water or near water. You'll get a lot of UV bouncing back up, so it doesn't cover everything, but it is helpful.
Well, even snow, you
Right.
can get reflection off that.
Yeah.
I mean, you tend to be a little bit more covered on the
Sand,
mountains, but yeah.
anything.
And this is interesting. Let's take the contrapositive. Let's give it the best possible. I think it's called steel manning that we can. What is the argument against chemical blockers in general? What is the hubbub about?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I think because it's a chemical, and people are like, chemicals. Your skin is made to be a barrier to the outside world, and it does a good job of not absorbing things and holding things like water inside your body. And so, again, I think that it's probably negligible. However, for those people that get worried and concerned about things like putting chemicals on your body,
Yes.
for them, I'd say, hey, look, then just use titanium or zinc, and you can't argue against that, really. I mean, titanium and zinc never hurt anybody unless you ingest it in
quite a
large
bit of it.
quantities.
Yes, exactly. Which I wouldn't recommend. By
I
the way.
wouldn't recommend either.
We're making great recommendations here today.
Absolutely.
And the physiochemistry behind it is somewhat interesting. As I understand, UV light is bringing in high energy, intensity energy, and maybe electrons that are coming down and are causing gamma radiation, etc.
Radiation, yeah.
Yeah, and so when we have chemical blockers, what that is typically benzene carbon sharing rings that can kind of share that energy over safer space, as opposed to sending that out to our DNA to cause more problems. Is that a way to think about it?
What he said. Yeah.
So I stumbled through that. Okay, I needed some help there. But as opposed to physical blockers, which physically create a kind of a
barrier.
second skin
Yeah.
on you that keeps that from
Correct.
happening. And now, in your own personal life, do you pick one or the other, or do you just go for
for me, men in general aren't good at putting on lotion or cream. I think just by nature, women are much better at it, and I think that is a whole separate discussion as to why.
We'll edit this out if we need to. Okay, so
That being said,
Yes.
I think that it's important that the sunscreen that you put on is comfortable. So not all sunscreens are created equal. Some have a really silky feel and don't feel like they're plug and pores as you put it on. So for me, I just like one that feels good. It doesn't feel real, I don't know, like Vaseline basically.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal sunscreens, I do like physical blockers, but they also contain a little bit of a chemical blocker in them too. So, but I really just go based on feel and comfort of it, really.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, which is the hardest thing about sunscreens, is reapplying it. You're supposed to reapply it every 2 hours. And I will tell you, when my kids were little growing up here in Florida, we would set a timer. And every time that timer would go off, we'd be like, dang, it's already 2 hours. We just put it on like an hour ago. So that's the hardest part, I think, about sunscreen is reapplying it.
Yeah, especially getting in and out of the water. I mean,
exactly. And dudes just aren't real good at it in general.
They aren't. Physical barriers in terms of clothing is also another important option.
I'm a huge proponent of covering up. Yeah, long sleeve shirts. A lot of the fishing gear that's out now is really, you would think, man, it's going to make me so hot. It really is almost cooling.
It's very breathable.
And the fabrics that are made or that are used in making some of this stuff is much more comfortable and cool than one would expect. So if I'm gonna be out in the sun all day fishing or something, if I'm going offshore, man, I cover up everything, put sunscreen on for sure, cover up my nose and ears and everything else. And, I try to put it everywhere, of course, but it looks really bad when I go to work and tell people, to practice sun-safe behaviors, and I got a sunburn. I mean, so I try to avoid it like the plague.
There's a famous interventional cardiologist, Mason Sones, who there's pictures of him smoking in the cath lab, and it's this kind of you send a little bit of a dichotomous message there. Whenever,
do as I say.
Yeah, that's right.
Not as I do.
But I have seen you at the water park before, and you were wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I was very impressed by that. So I was practicing what you preach. So I can respect that.
I also have this Irish melanoma prone skin that is not good for it is good for dermatology business, but that's about it.
Well, it also bespeaks to another fact about medicine, which I think is really worth mentioning both to our professional colleagues and to the lay public, which is that prevention is so much better than treatment.
Absolutely.
And that goes pretty much across the board. I mean,
Absolutely.
do you have some fancy things that you can do about really invasive melanomas? Yeah. I mean, you can get in there, you can really get, you've got better technology to get probably thinner margins that are, more aesthetically appealing whenever you go to fix them. And there's perhaps some other chemotherapeutic or other interventional agents that we can utilize. So much better to prevent this in the first place.
For sure. Absolutely. Get your skin checked if you're prone to it, have a family history of it. And just, I think the most important thing as far as that goes from a dermatology perspective is don't get a sunburn. So am I condoning a really good tan? No, not necessarily, but I would say a tan is probably better than getting a bad burn. So that's, I think, causes the most damage.
Yeah, and I found myself recently kicking myself for not having sunblock at things that I wouldn't have thought about, like sitting out for the Mardi Gras parade. And, you're going to be outside for a while, and it's oh, man, I should have thought about this. So the beach is kind of, you feel like I'm going out to the pool, like I can wear sunblock. But if you're going to be exposed for any significant period of time outside, you should do this.
For sure. Easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
And you should exercise every day for 30 minutes of cardio.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Okay, finally we can talk about this.
Yeah.
So let's change gears for a second here, because you have been a business owner now for near on 10 years. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Owning your own practice. And what I've said before on this podcast, and I'll say again, is that I found out at some point that cardiology was actually the easiest part of my life.
Right.
It's the other stuff that you do. And so why don't you talk about opening your own business and what that has been like, and that, we say practice, but it really is a business.
Yeah. I'm probably the last person that should be talking about any kind of business. I think I lose a lot of money and leave a lot of money on the table every day.
Yeah.
But I just kind of set out with, I'm going to practice and just do a good job for patients and let the rest fall where it may. We're not going to starve. That being said, I pulled my hair out today as I was at work doing administrative stuff, and my wife, who kind of does the office manager / financial stuff for my business, came and said,
Jen.
She said, she's the glue. So she came to me and said, hey, that Medicare's taken back a portion of our reimbursement, and showed me all the numbers, like I don't know what percentage, but because we didn't submit our MIPS data, or it wasn't a good score or something like this. So I try to go online on our electronic medical record.
Yes.
And spent probably 3 hours, and I really wish I had it here to pull up and show you and describe some of the selection factors, because you need a lawyer present to talk about what the heck these things mean.
Yes.
And there's no way as a practice owner, you need a team for it. So
you do.
They are effectively trying to get rid of the little guy by making it so difficult to run a practice that one cannot do it independently.
That's right.
And that is a problem, and it's a scary problem. And if you think about the drivers behind that, it's even scarier to me as to why they wouldn't want independent private practice. As far as, I guess it's government. I don't know who's behind it, but It's a problem, I think, for sure.
And it may be a feature of the system, not a bug. And it's, I love talking about this kind of topic with you, just because, you've had a lot of experience with it. And, technically, we're both kind of little guys in this field of trying to carve ourselves out in this niche and making sure that we're taking care of patients along the way. That's always been the priority. But for those that don't know about it, MIPS is basically, it's a it's a quality improvement project from the government. So for all CMS or Medicare patients, you have to check things like, what is the patient's blood pressure? Are they smoking? Did you talk to them about stopping smoking? Are they depressed? Do they have? Are they living in a safe environment? A lot of screening issues that you may say are important, and they are, but it's not really in the wheelhouse of the dermatologist. I don't really want my dermatologist thinking about whether or not the patient has, their blood pressure controlled. I want them worried about, their lesions that they see on.
Right, but yet we have to do it, and we have to, check the box, or else, and the other 6 boxes or 8 boxes or however many boxes that are required, or else they start pulling money back.
So it's a stick. It's not a carrot here.
Right.
They pull money back that you have to pay in order to make sure that you maintain this. And my whole issue with this from the very beginning has been, is this really improving any outcomes anywhere?
Absolutely not.
Because I'm talking with my patients about smoking in general. That's a good thing to talk to them about, especially in my field.
As a cardiologist.
Yeah, in general.
Also their blood pressure.
These are things
Probably
that we
important.
check every single time here, and that falls into my wheelhouse, and that's a purview. But it does create more legwork, more paperwork, more things that you have to do in order to maintain the same level of this amount that you're getting remunerated.
Right. And, so we should be getting a raise to pay our staff all this extra time that we have to pay our staff to do these things, and check in just during the check-in patient process. And so, however, we're getting cuts.
Yes.
We're not getting raises. We're given more tasks and less pay.
And it should be a carrot. It shouldn't be a stick.
Yeah.
And this falls into something, you didn't say these exact words, but the point is that this is regulatory capture.
Yep.
The big organizations, the big practices, the big hospitals, they got an entire department that can do this.
That's right.
They can hire the number of people. They're remunerated appropriately so that they can do that kind of thing. We're not afforded those same luxuries. So we just have to assimilate that into our general folks that come along. And
yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
And it makes me angry.
It does. Well, I think the things that really make us angry are, we could say the emotional kind of stress that this involves. I think it really aggravates us whenever this really has nothing to do with patients. This isn't going to improve anything that we do. This isn't going to improve the amount of care that we give. This is box checky BS that is not helping anybody. You're just going through the motions here, and that really is frustrating to us, I think.
Very. And again, if it was improving patient care, okay, fine. But we're basically collecting data for people to then go back and cut our reimbursement some more.
That's right. to crunch numbers to see if this is really even worthwhile.
Right.
And the other side of that I often talk about is that being in private practice is that not only do you have the insurance remuneration difficulties that you have on one end, but you also have, we're employing people.
Yep.
And we are paying their insurance, and their insurance premiums are going up. So we've had this frank discussion
24%
with insurers that say, you're not giving me any extra over here, yet you're increasing the premiums that we're paying over here. Tell me what gives.
Every year that they pay us less and charge us more.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. It's really frustrating. And none of this takes away from the altruism that we really want to help people. That's certainly what we want to do. But as I've said before here, we have to create an economic engine where this is sustainable. Where we can, because, how many employees have you had for the past 10 years?
20.
20 at least. So that's 20 families, that's 20 people, that's 20 denizens of our society that are having houses, that are going to schools, that are have other families and other downstream revenue that you're supporting there. And so you would think that we would want to kind of support small business and private practice a little bit more.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And the other frustrating thing is, who can you talk to about it? What are you going to do? Call Medicare and CMS and have them listen?
Well, trying to call insurance companies is very frustrating now too. I mean,
or good luck. Yeah, trying to get in.
You know, I don't want to go too far off on this diatribe, but I do want to say that I really want everything to be beneficial to everybody at the same time. I want to. There's ways that we could get this to where, you know, if you were making infinity $1 billion, yeah, you'd hire more people.
Sure.
Yes, you would increase the number of toys and lasers and other things that you would get. I mean, this would be paid forward.
Or even dermatology specific metrics that are relevant instead of me screening for depression and blood pressure, neither of which I can do anything about except for call my buddy, the cardiologist, Donnie, and say, hey, can you manage this guy's blood pressure? Which
no, I can't. I'm out of field here. But anyway.
So, yeah, it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah, so this dovetails nicely with something that I wanted to talk to you about, which is that, you know, you've spoken very eloquently to our community and actually the Florida Medical Association about leadership and about how you've been able to navigate these issues. Because, you know, leadership is not just one rah-rah speech. It is about a persistent day-to-day presentation and how you maintain focus for your staff, even despite all these things. So maybe you can give some insights into some of the things that maybe you've learned or maybe you've gotten wrong starting off with that you got better at.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are, as a leader, you're constantly under the microscope. And so your example is always being watched, even if you think it's not. People are watching from everything from where you park to how late you stay, what days you work, etc. And I think that that's something I need to work at and probably do better at. I think that the biggest key for me, I think the most important thing that I've learned is obviously communication is important, but having the communication be a two-way street instead of a top-down, do this. I think any group, not just in a medical practice, but needs to be able to give feedback without fear of retribution and be able to, I mean, we get better when my staff points out issues and problems. And so I strongly encourage that, and we do that through regular meetings. But to me, that's been the single most important thing I feel like benefit to my practice is being able to have my staff kind of tell us what's wrong or give us feedback, whether it's good or bad. I think as a society, it is, for human beings, it's hard to accept negative criticism.
Very hard.
But I feel like it is the most important thing. You got to get feedback and honest feedback. You don't want them, oh, you're doing a great job because you're my boss and I want a raise this year. You need it to be honest feedback of like, hey, you're not communicating effectively what you think needs to be done. And so I feel like that's probably the most important thing as far as leadership that I've learned over the years of running a practice, and still learning for sure.
I think that is such sage wisdom there. I say oftentimes positive feedback feels great, but negative feedback is really formative. That's where we're going to really change things and say, oh, man, and you know, the majority of the time, it's things you had no idea about.
Right.
And you say, oh, geez, we're having a difficult time answering the phones. Okay, well, now I need to kind of reiterate and try and find out how we can make this better.
Right. And I feel like we do like we try to do them, a formal evaluation. And if you read those formal evaluations, like the questions I think are so trite and like, you're like, come on, this is so stupid. And it really doesn't summarize somebody's work by answering these questions. But I do feel like write in your criticisms and and I encourage my staff to like, hey, tell me what I can do better. And I don't care if it's offensive or what. Obviously, do it politely, but
sure.
Tell me what we can do better to make your job better, make this practice better, and we'll do our best to fix it. Now, I can't take everyone to Puerto Vallarta or something every week for vacation, but within reason, we can try to work on things and get things better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want your employees to be happy coming to work.
For sure.
You want them to find this work fulfilling. I mean, it's incredibly fulfilling to us, but we want everybody. I mean, we're doing real stuff here. I mean, we're really helping people, and that's a great feeling if you can allow yourself to kind of get into it. And look, you could go see plenty of patients by yourself. It'd be really hard to get to the scale that you're at without a great team that's behind you that could be
for sure
answering phones and doing the billing and all the other stuff.
And it's not just one person or one job. My receptionist, I feel like it's such an important position that's undervalued or underappreciated. But man, they make a huge difference. It's the face of your practice. The first people that, when you walk in the door, that's who patients see. So if you've got a miserable Karen at the front desk, she can wreck your world.
Absolutely.
And so it's important to make sure that their needs are all met, that they're being taken care of, and also that they hear of their value and that they know how important their job is, because then they try harder to do a better job at it and give you feedback. So it's important. Every single person on my staff.
Yeah,
it's critical.
Being the face of the practice means that if you start off on a bad foot, walking into the door, it's going to be hard for me to recover. If you start off on the right foot coming through the door, I'm going to look like a rock star whenever they get into me. And so that's just, it's setting yourself up for success at every point along the way.
100%.
So,
yeah,
and kind of like going over these values again with them. And, that's one of the things that Mark Noon has really inculcated in me about that.
Yeah, so he's great.
He's great. He's great. Mission values, your kind of the purpose of why you're there. And that's one of the things that I think would be really valuable to any practicing members of our the Emerald Coast Medical Association is, if you're having difficulty kind of finding that leadership and that mindset that you can get people to follow you is what is your purpose? What's the reason why you're here?
Yeah, and it's important, I feel like, that not only and understand that, and I spent probably the first 5 years not having any idea, just kind of wandering aimlessly, but when you go look at that and say, and it sounds, again, kind of cheesy and trite, but what is our core values as a practice? What is our mission? What is important to us? And if you ask my staff, they're going to, I think, resoundingly say taking care of people. Like the money, all that stuff comes second, but or third or whatever. But take care of people, do the right thing, be good to people, and the rest will take care of itself. But I think my staff all gets what our goal is and what is important to us as a practice, which I think, again, was hard for me to understand. And going through some of these leadership courses, I had to sit and do that. Okay, what is our mission? What is important to us? I
had to think about it for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I doing this? Yeah. And that's part of our training is kind of prescripted.
Totally.
Medical school and then residency and then fellowship. And it's kind of, it's hard to get into and through all these things and do the application process for sure. But it is kind of set, the ruts in the road are kind of set there.
Right.
And then you get out and you're like, well, now I need to kind of do these things that I was doing before. And then you realize, oh, wait, there's a bigger aspect to this. Not muscles that we had flexed before.
Not ever used. I mean, running a business is, we got zero training in it. We get zero training in it. And I think it would be a valuable thing to have in a medical school curriculum, because I can tell you a lot of stuff I don't remember. But having
mine's dermatology related, actually.
Right, exactly. No, if I didn't go to residency in it, I think we got a 2 week or 1 week class in dermatology during our med school training.
Yeah,
so,
if that. But you're right. A no week class in terms of business. I mean, you picked up some nuggets here and there with your attendings. Yeah. Maybe some that had come from the private practice world, but still, it's certainly no formal amount.
Yeah, that's because they want us to be a cog in the machine, or is it just that they think it's not important? I don't know.
I think it might be, again, a feature, not a bug, and it's just how the system is set up. Many that have gone through training would testify to, as you're jumping through the hoops, you kind of are being pushed towards academia.
Yeah,
that's really, medical schools and residencies are really trying to push you towards academic training, much akin to what you're going through right there. That's kind of the system that they want you to do. Now, I mean, they understand that you're going to be spreading your wings and doing various different things. Not everybody's going to come back to academics, but that seems to be the MO of where everybody's operating. And, academics is very different from the private practicing world.
But I think even academics folks in academia,
doctors at schools, I don't know.
I think that even they would benefit from knowing the importance of some of the business aspect of it. You know what I mean?
100% agree with this. How do you make a budget when you are the head of you're chairman of a department? I mean, these are numbers with more commas than you and I ever see. I mean, those are really interesting things because, hiring doctors is one of your most expenses that you will have whenever you have a practice, and sometimes some of the most finicky things that you have to deal with.
For sure.
Apropos to that, what do you think the biggest issue facing dermatology is in the near future? So, say over the next year and a half to 2 years, what do you think is the biggest issue that your field is going to come against?
I mean, as we've kind of alluded to already, obviously reimbursement is an issue for every physician. I think specific to dermatology, I don't know, maybe AI use. And again, the thing about dermatology with AI is that a lot of stuff you can, we did telemedicine through the VA at one point, and we would look at these store and forward pictures that a clinic in some rural setting would take.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd send us this picture as a resident. We had to sit and do a half a day of this or something. So we would look at them, and 8 out of 10 times we'd be like, yep, that needs a biopsy. So then you got to still go and get the biopsy. But I think with AI and some of the images stuff, I think is getting better at identifying kind of various stuff as either benign or requires a biopsy. But right now, at least, a lot of what we do is hands-on technical as opposed to just looking and saying, yep, it's this, it's a squamous cell, it's a basal cell. And so I think that may be something that impacts our field is down the road. But how, I'm not sure exactly how it's all going to pan out. Because like I said, you still got to cut the thing out. You still got to or treat it somehow. Right. So knowing what it is only a small part of it.
I've been coming to perhaps this realization that, we had thought, I think, AI and robots, et cetera, were going to come down at the basilar level that are going to take care of the grunt work. And they will in some sense, doing the dirty work, cleaning sewers, building buildings, that kind of stuff. But they may actually go above us. And they may be to the point where they're saying, like, this is squamous cell and you need to biopsy it, and you're the biopsier.
Right,
like
exactly.
You're going in and being like, okay, this is the thing to do here. So
and maybe I think as good as AI is, I think that we may get to a point where you scan your rash and it says it's this and here's your treatment, and there's no need for a dermatologist, other than to sign the prescription.
Same thing with cardiovascular medicine.
Right.
I mean, we may get to the genesis of, we've determined now how atherosclerosis works. We know how to prevent it. You take this injection every 10 years, and it just keeps that from happening. And smoke and drink and eat whatever you want. That's right. It's got it taken care of. And honestly, humanity gets a lot better there. Yeah. If we start to eliminate cardiovascular disease. I've said for a long time, if put me out of business because every's healthy, that would be a great thing.
Bravo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll figure out something else to do, I guess. So
exactly. I'll start working as a dancer.
That's reworking as a dancer.
Yeah,
so
let's go back to belly dancing.
The bull, right? Yeah. Well, you had to make it through college somehow, right?
Yeah. Hey,
$20 is $20. Okay, Jeremy.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
not getting cuts. Belly dancers haven't got cuts.
No, it's keeping up with inflation, if anything. So, now, you had alluded to, we had talked to you about, the near future and kind of brought along with that the far future about where AI is probably going to work. And I think that that's probably going to be the biggest mode change in our life and our existence, and, where that fits into our practice, and much less our kids and humanity and everything else that we're going to do. I don't fully know. But take us back to right now, okay? Tell us a fun fact about the skin that we don't know about, or something that, I'm interested in something that would just be kind of a fun quiz when we're sitting around the dinner table or something.
There's not that much fun stuff about the skin, if I'm being honest. It takes 28 days to regenerate from top to bottom. I mean,
there you go.
Neat, I guess.
There you go. That is neat. And
so from the bottom layer to the top. I will tell you a really fascinating story about horses, though.
Oh, please, thought you'd never.
So horses out in the wild, like wild Mustangs, when a mare gets pregnant. Mm-hmm. She will.
How do they get pregnant, by the way? Is it
intercourse?
Okay, good. Thanks.
So birds meet bees, and a foal is born. But so a mare, female horse, will then copulate, have intercourse with every other male in the herd, so that when that baby is born, the male doesn't stomp it and kill it. You want to talk about some preservation and some self-sacrifice? I mean, imagine.
Yes.
To me, it just is mind-blowing. So anyway, neat
it's first of all, it is a fun fact. Secondly, it talks about the reproduction strategies in biological creatures are fascinating. Totally. Like how we found the way to get to where we're at. And, it also, there's something called the naturalistic fallacy, which is just because something's natural doesn't mean that it's good.
Right.
And so, it gets you thinking about, our own strategies for how we're going to propagate our species. And it's just really, really fascinating to think that happens. And there's several different other strategies that are in there that are
100%.
Strangely named, so.
But what sacrifice,
That's great. I mean, coming from the bull rider here, I mean, you know about this thing, so.
I found it fascinating.
That's great, and you know what? That's gonna count as your fun fact.
It's not skin, but hey,
it's not skin, but horses have skin, right? We're gonna play along.
Yeah.
So, young dermatologists that are coming out right now. Not to say that you're not young. But what advice do you give them that are coming out right now in their career?
Oh, man. I think it's important to do what you love. I think, as you mentioned earlier about academia, we're geared towards encouraging academia. So when I was applying to dermatology residencies, I knew I wanted to do Mohs surgery. I really didn't want to do anything else. I knew that was where I wanted to end up and what I wanted to do. And everybody told me when I was applying, do not tell anyone you want to do cosmetics, and do not tell anyone that you want to do Mohs. Those two things are the big no-nos. And I really liked the surgical aspect, and so my whole resume was obviously geared towards surgery and whatnot. So I felt like when they asked me, do you want to do Mohs? I said, yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I'm going to do.
Of course.
And I felt like I was encouraged to not say that. But to me, they're going to know anyway. So I think you just got to be who you are and do what you want to do and be unapologetic about it. I mean, it might ruin some of your chances of getting into some places because they want you to go into academics specifically. But I think you just got to go with your gut. I think the other thing, dermatology is one of the few fields where you still can be independent. And
Yes.
again, that's kind of, even as we mentioned earlier, fading as far as it's just getting more and more difficult. It can still be done, but it's getting really difficult to do that. But I think it is, if I could go back, I might join and stay with the group a little bit longer. You come out of residency or fellowship, and I feel like, especially these days, but understandably, people are entitled and think that they want, I want to come out and just start doing 100% Mohs in my own practice, which is not realistic. I feel like a lot of people coming out of training don't have realistic expectations of both pay and work, loads, how many cases or how many patients you got to see a day. And I think it is good to kind of learn it and see it from somebody else before you just jump in and start doing it for yourself like I did, which I made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot from it. But I probably should have taken lessons for a little longer before I jumped in and started my own, which, for that being what it is.
Yeah, I think you said two really sage things there. First of all, be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you like what you like. What I said for a long time about doing surgery, I like surgery, which is that, could I not do surgery?
Right.
If I could not do it, then the lifestyle is not great.
Correct.
For a lot of people. Now, people have made a career out of it for sure, but it's do the thing that you can't not do.
Exactly.
If that's going to be your raison d'etre, if that's going to be your fire, if that's going to be your passion whenever you get up and do it, then that's the thing to do.
For sure.
Wherever that lands. And that could be in academia, that could be in private practice, that could be wherever it is, but just shoot straight and honest with it, and be honest with yourself about it.
For sure.
I think that's also a testament to your character, because you're kind of more direct about things, and maybe you've learned that over time.
Sometimes too dumb to know better.
Well, so my wife, shout out my wife, she has a saying, which is, money is out there. In other words, you can go make more money.
Yeah.
I get cold calls 3 times a week about locums positions. There's several different job opportunities out there. You can go make money. It's there. It's your balance. It's how you really want to do things. So don't worry about the money aspect so much. Worry about getting your reputation up, being the kind of person that family and friends and other colleagues would refer to you. Right. That's going to give you more gold than anything else. Right. Building the practice, building the leadership of people that want to come work with you, that see your vision and see your passion and want to see that through to the end. I mean, that's really how you make long-term commitment, because you're not going to remember how much money you made.
Right.
You will remember building a practice and keeping people employed and having a life and raising your kids in a community. Those are the kind of things that you're going to really remember.
For sure. I think one thing as I reflect back in building my practice, I've kind of collected a lot of people who are similar in personality. Yeah. Which is a problem, because I need those other
contrarian voices.
Yeah. Well, and people that are just better at different things, And so I've found myself trying to find, the color personality test, finding those people that are not your same color, if you will.
Yes. Disc assessment that are different.
Yes, exactly. And try to find folks that are just opposite to you, even though it may be harder to understand and work with them. I think it's important to have everybody on a team,
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's a different type of diversity. It's a diversity of thought, of problem approach, of personality, of kind of perspective on things that really, it turns out, because we've done the DISC assessment, again, shout out Mark Noon, my wife and I are the exact opposite of each other. And that's not something that I could have put down and said, oh, I know that. But now having it, we can see how we see things a little bit differently. You can cater to that. And I mean, we kind of do some amateur version of that with our patients. I mean, your patients that are like, look, I just want to get in and get out. Yeah. And the other patients that, here's pictures of my grandkids, and you can kind of cater to that. But knowing the people that you're going to see every single day, work in with them, that's a great. It's almost like a superpower to know how to talk to them.
Totally. Agreed.
Yeah, and it creates a more well-balanced you that's able to kind of get this different perspective when you have, again, people that look at things very concretely and other people that are very subjective. And
Yeah, like your kids, they're all different.
they came out the mix that way too.
Exactly.
It was
Exactly.
very strange. I mean, just totally different. I was like, are you two genetically related?
Exactly.
Now, tell me about what you do for fun. What are your hobbies?
I like hunting and fishing a lot.
We wouldn't have expected that looking at you. I mean,
I know. I like ballets and orchestras. Not really. I really don't.
Yeah, exactly.
My
It's
wife
writing
loves them,
poetry.
and I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess I lack culture in that regard. But I'm working on it. She's working on it. But I like that, like riding buggies side by sides and getting stuck in the mud, and just I like horses, obviously, and farm and country life.
Well, and
Simple.
I think you and Jen decided to go to, you got some property a little bit further outside the city to, what's the exact address for everybody to hear? No,
It is 8-4.
So you could go out there and really live this life, which is a little bit more, not as planned. You're a little bit more wide open. I'm sure you've got more projects than you'll ever be able to fit into your life.
For sure. Sure. Way too many projects at the farm, but I like doing it. I mean, even the work projects, it's so different from what we do on a daily basis. So like feeding hay to the horses is mundane and basic, but when you're doing it, you're not thinking about anything but that. And I like that kind of ability to go to the farm and do stuff that you don't have to think about your everyday life, patience that you missed something, or whatever.
Well, and also when you're doing something deliberate, focused, it's mindfulness, and that is so good for us. I mean, you're not worried about the thousands of other things that you're supposed to be doing. You're right there. You're doing that thing, and it's almost like when you're in the heat of surgery and you're doing something, you're not worried about what you're eating. You're not worried about your kids. You're not worried about the government or politics or TV or anything like. You're right then and there, and you're nowhere else.
Yeah, I think that's why I love it so much. You get lost in it.
You get lost into it, and then you kind of have to snap out whenever you get through it, and you're like, oh wait, now I've got to catch up to all the other stuff.
I missed a birthday and anniversary.
I doubt you've done it. No. But those are really great moments for us, and so it's kind of nice that you have this work-life balance now, where you've found like this may be the formula for you, that you can get in and help people, but then I need some time to kind of.
Yeah, I love golf too. This is a new thing.
Actually, that's not something I would have had on my bingo card for you. So this is unexpected.
I just started learning to play about a year or two ago because my son started taking lessons, and I thought, how am I going to be able to spend time with him? I just have to drive him around and caddy him. So I started learning how to play, or trying to learn how to play, and I'm a terrible golfer. I mean, terrible.
Not worse than me.
Oh, you might be surprised. But I love it. Same reason, when I'm golfing, you're just in the moment thinking about that, not distracted. Right. It does take a lot of time, but it's fun, and it's healthy, I think, for me to get out there and do something like that.
Yeah, that's also a good mental exercise.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
kind of recapitulating the same movements with your body. Your body is probably able to do that, but sometimes the brain doesn't really fit into that.
And just being able to focus on the ball and not get distracted with my ADD.
No, I mean, I think that really speaks to things that are good for us as humans, to kind of have very different interests.
But it's kind of, I think watching my golf swing is comical because of all my injuries. I'm like an 80-year-old man, so I'm stiff, and like when I swing, it's like, oh, there's 80-year-olds smoother than me for sure.
Is this like smoother. Charles Barkley swing?
Exactly.
The 2 hitches. Oh man, it's the old man noises that I make just sitting down and standing up now is really
for sure.
It's really great.
Just picking up the ball, I'm like,
Now, all right. How many kids do you have?
I have 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know all their names?
Well, I don't even know all the kids I have, but I'm teasing. Joke.
No,
Jen, I'm
these are
teasing.
jokes, okay? All right,
yeah,
we'll
I got
edit that
jokes.
out. Chris, thanks. All right, we'll
I
mark
do
that.
know. I have my daughter Kaya is 19, and she's going to school at USF in Tampa, and she wants to be a doctor.
Oh,
And
no.
we've had this
Oh,
discussion
please.
of like,
What are we doing?
Listen, baby, don't do it. Don't do it. It is not a good time. However, I think I just had the discussion like, look, if you love it and you think that that's what you need to make you happy because of all the great things of medicine,
Yes.
The altruism, all the things that are really great
wonderful.
in medicine, then do it. But don't do it because you think I want you to, or you think you're going to make anybody proud, or anybody's going to give a crap, because nobody's going to give a crap.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, do it for the right reasons, and fine, go ahead. Then my next daughter is Cody. She's 17, and she is an animal whisperer.
Oh,
and
yes. Good.
She trains horses, and she wants to be a professional equestrian and maybe go to vet school. I'm trying to get her to she's debating taking time off to go ride, and I'm like, don't take time off of school, at least do online school or something like that.
Vet.
Yeah, that's what she would be great at.
And that would be fantastic.
I think that's what she's going to probably end up doing. But,
good on her.
And then I have two sons. Colton is my 12-year-old, and he is kind of my twin. And so it's really scary to parent him because he does things like I would, which worries me like no other.
Believe you me, I know
and it's scary.
When you see them doing it, you're like, please, I'm letting you take my advice.
I'm trying to tell him. I'm trying to tell him.
You're going to set yourself up for a bad time.
You are a short trip away from prison or becoming a billionaire.
Yes,
but
exactly.
like,
those are your two choices.
You gotta,
and it's one of
choose,
those. Okay?
You gotta choose wisely
right.
because it could take a wrong turn easily. And then my youngest son, Caden, he's 10, and he is the baby, and he's our sensitive guy. He's awesome. He's a good kid.
Yeah. I got one of those too.
They're all good kids.
They're all good kids. Yeah. And, I think this just says, so you've got a 9-year spread there with 4 different kids. And I mean, there's really nothing better than to see your kids grow up and just how they become more and more people in and of themselves.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful reflection of you and Jen.
In some ways, it's hard because it happens so fast. Like my oldest is in college already and gone, and my next one is about to be gone. And then, I mean, we're going to be empty nesters soon.
Now what are you going to do?
I don't know. It's scary, but it happens fast. And I know you've seen it in your own kids, but man, looking back, it's like, there's no way. It's just.
Well, I think this lands on a point, again, that we had talked about before, which that mindfulness, that real joy in spending time with them, I think is great. We just had a recent podcast guest that we interviewed here who was really great, Tom Mayer, which is an excellent episode. And he talked about, we've all heard about lifespan, and it's of growing popularity to talk about health span. He also mentioned something called joy span, which I thought was a really great term. That's what we're really trying to optimize here, is getting as much joy as possible. And there's really great joy in just being with your kids and your family.
For sure. Yeah. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, to keep your head balanced around being a leader, running a practice, being a dermatologist, staying up to date, fighting against government overreach, and at the same time still staying balanced with your family is really, again, just a testament to the many hats and plates that you spin.
Well, what I do is juggle them all, and when one ball falls, I'm like, oh,
I gotta get to that. I need to do that. Oh, yes, exactly.
I need to do my MIPS.
Oh, yeah. Your personal MIPS.
But I feel like it's always, you're always focused on one more so than the other, and you got to sometimes redirect. But to me, the important one is family, and to some degree taking care of yourself, but more taking care of family, and to me that's more outweighs success of my practice or anything else.
Of course.
But it's also you feel like sometimes you don't have the time, or I can't be at all my kids every single thing, which I hate. I want to be there for them, but
it's frustrating. Yeah.
And parenting is not easy for anyone.
It's a full-time job. It's worth it. But and I think most parents would testify towards that end. But it's nice to see that you're finding some balance in the things that I prioritize, and kind of hearing other smart people recapitulate that is really it's refreshing.
Yeah, you try. You feel like you're always failing at something, but I just keep trying to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, pick up what everyone starts to fall.
Yeah, try to fail less.
Exactly.
When you go on to
less.
reiterate. Yes, just try. Which is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes I'll be like, man, I'm a crappy parent, or I'm a crappy husband, or maybe just to one kid. I feel like, I haven't been spending enough time with that kid, and so I'll try to refocus. But it's hard.
I feel like you're in my head, and I have half the number of kids that you have, but it's the same basic idea where I feel like, man, I'm really dropping the ball over here. I've got to make this thing a priority here. Well, now let's go to everybody's favorite part, which is the rapid fire questions. You think you're ready for this?
I'm definitely not.
Okay, well, let's buckle in. Okay,
all right, let's do it.
You're sparkling water too?
Now I'm ready. This is sparkling tea.
Sparkling tea, yeah. It looks like it. It smells strong. Does it? It's crazy. All right. So, my wife's favorite question: who's the smartest person in history?
I mean, smart, like Stephen Hawking smart, or like.
You can take it any direction that you want to.
I'll go with Jesus. You can't go wrong with Jesus.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. I don't think too many people would.
Nobody's gonna fight me on that one.
No, nobody's gonna fight you. One thing that I really like about Jesus as a pick is that you will even have pretty hardcore atheists that will say, like, he had some good messages. He had some good things to say.
He was a wise dude.
We should probably listen to some of those things.
Right.
And, to come philosophically from like a Stoic philosophy, which had come before that, to Christianity, where all of a sudden, you start to say you should turn the other cheek and do unto others as you'd have done unto you. Pretty powerful messages, I think, that cut across culture and all things. So
yeah.
I like that choice. It's a pretty good one.
Easy, yeah.
If we can live to 1,000 years old, should we do it?
I guess I would ask the question of what's the quality of life of that 1,000 years? If 900 are going to be decrepit in a wheelchair in a retirement home, no. But if it's meaningful and we're still able to function well, then yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think something similar in the sense that, again, if we're still enjoying the joy span, then I think we should probably do that.
Yeah. Most of my 90-year-old patients are over it at 90.
Yeah, that's right.
But mostly because of chronic health issues that plague us that are frustrating, and
if we can
depressing.
keep that from happening.
Yeah.
And many times I'll take this brief sojourn in here. Many of my patients that I have the end of life talk on or with, and that we talk about palliative care and other stuff, they understand. Mm-hmm. They're with it.
Yep.
They're kind of sick of the struggle.
Right.
They just want to feel better and not suffer.
Yep.
And once you kind of relinquish that and you talk straight with them about it, they're not only accepting, they're kind of glad. They start to get perhaps a little bit more of that joy span in there. So I encourage all of our physicians, have that talk with your patients if they need to. Yeah. It's a fulfilling thing in our lives to be able to guide people into the most restful passing that they can possibly get.
For sure.
So, all right. Do you want it too cold or too hot at night?
Too cold.
Too cold. This is the only right answer, okay? What is one thing that you would tell yourself if you could go right now and talk to yourself as soon as you started medical school?
Don't do it. No, just kidding. I'm teasing.
Abort.
No, I think I guess as I reflect on kind of my career and education, I really don't have regrets. Mm-hmm. I guess I would just say maybe, like I said earlier, join a practice for a couple of years and get a good nest egg before you go broke trying to start your own, which Ask me how I know. You know?
Exactly. The stories that I could tell.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one current medical treatment or therapy that we are going to shudder that we used in 15 years?
Sentinel lymph node biopsy.
Say more about that.
I just think
Let's take one step back. For perhaps our lay audience, what is the sentinel lymph node?
so. If you have a melanoma or other types, but melanoma in my life specifically, we inject a dye, tracer dye, into the site where the melanoma is, and it drains into the lymph system to your first lymph node, which is your sentinel lymph node. And so they use a detector that detects that dye, and they find where that lymph node is that is draining from that site, so that they can then pluck that lymph node out, cut it into little slices, and look at it under the microscope to see if tumor has gotten there. And if tumor's gotten there, the horse is out of the barn, and it's now changes how we manage and treat.
So how cancers spread is lymphangiographically. They move through the lymph system first more than anything.
Correct.
They're not. I mean, yes, they can spread outside their capsule and kind of get to surrounding tissues, but really how they're spreading to distant sites, and really where we change the stage, and basically our curative intents of many cancers is going to be their ability to get past that first lymph node.
Correct.
So if we can find it in that first lymph node, then that totally changes our approach to how we do that. So,
Right. So I think with a lot of the genetic profiling that we're doing of tumors and cancers now, I think that sentinel node is probably going to be obsolete in 20 years. It's so good and so predictive, the genetic profiling of tumors, that it can tell you whether you're at high risk for metastasis of that melanoma. Just as, I mean, the data correlates really, really closely, if not much better than a sentinel lymph node. The problem with sentinel lymph nodes is you're taking this little marble-sized lymph node, you're cutting it into slices and looking at it under the microscope, and it is easy to miss a single melanocyte or melanoma cell in the lymph node if you don't look at the exact precise location. If we're talking a few. Now, if it's chock full of it, yeah, you're probably going to see it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think that we miss stuff because we can't see it all
Yes.
microscopically. And so I think just that innate error will make it so we tend to lean on genetic profiling more so than cutting it out after and saying, oh yeah, there's tumor there.
This is such a wonderful answer here because, even the most precise slices, 1 millimeter or something along those lines, I mean, you can hide a house in that.
Right.
So if we're having a positive sentinel lymph node, then that's going to be very specific. If we catch something there, then it's definitely been spread, but it's not very sensitive.
Exactly.
We're not going to be able to catch all the different spreads that could be microscopic, like you said.
Yep.
And now it turns out our genetic markers, when we do a genotype of these cancers, can predict the spread with
Better
greater accuracy than what we have here, which, I mean, a testament to human knowledge that we have found out your likelihood, your propensity towards spreading of these cancers is dictated by their genes. What else could it be dictated by, to be honest with you? But either way, and so that's going to be more predictive than the kind of, all respect to our pathologic colleagues who are doing absolutely the best that they can and are really, really excellent clinicians, but having to roughly cut up this tissue in order to look at it under a microscope.
And that's if you can find the right sentinel lymph node, which I've had patients where they couldn't find the node, but it's just wrought with issues. I've had, so for melanoma, we use a cutoff in depth. How deep is it? That determines everything in terms of treatment. So once it gets past a certain depth, then we say, okay, you're getting a sentinel lymph node. But I've had it where we did the genetic profiling and it hadn't reached that border for an adequate depth of a sentinel. So they didn't qualify for a sentinel lymph node, but the genetic profile said, this is a really, really risky melanoma.
Aggressive, yeah.
And so I brought it to my good buddy general surgeon, and I said, "Hey, can we do that?" And he said, "No, we can't, for obvious reason, insurance, et cetera, it doesn't qualify." And then this guy comes back 3 months later, has a second melanoma, different, totally distinct,
second primary,
but it qualified for a sentinel lymph node. So we do the sentinel lymph node, and he had metastatic melanoma, and it was probably from the first. So anyways, I think that eventually it'll take some time, but we'll phase out.
Yeah, well, that's why I really like this idea, because it's thinking on a bit of a different level, and it's not just falling into the, this is how we've always done it kind of thing.
Right.
It's, what's a better way to do that? Because
Right.
I don't care how I stumble onto the right answer. I don't care how patients get better,
Right.
as long as they get better. I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. Okay,
Amen.
So really fantastic answer, and I think that elucidates, perhaps to many in our audience that may not be aware of it, about this mechanism, about how things work like that. So good on you. How about tell me, what is the best song of all time?
Let's go with. I'm thinking between David Allan Coe.
Okay, yes. Which one? That ain't country. We'll just leave it that way. And just
Let's see. Yeah, I guess we could go with David Allan Coe. You never even call me by my name.
Fair enough.
I was drunk the day my mom got out of prison. I mean, what a great song. And I
Are these your wedding vows that we're talking about here?
In the rain.
Tell me what books you're reading.
I don't know how to read very well.
I find that difficult to believe. Hey, it's tough to get Chris Joseph to laugh, and there you go doing it. Okay.
I'm reading Green Lights.
Oh yes, Matthew
McConaughey, which is it's a good book, and I relate to him in the book a lot.
Yeah, I think it begs a big question about him: is that, do you have to have conflict to have a successful artist, or because he's I don't want to say too tumultuous, but a fair amount of issues growing up, and relationship issues and family issues. Is that what made him so successful and so great at what he does? I mean,
I'd say yeah.
It might be.
I think it's a good question. I don't know, but it definitely doesn't hurt.
Look, there's a saying that no comedians come from good homes.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's
it's the truth.
Unfortunately, it becomes a truism. So,
gotta laugh to survive.
You got to. That's the only way you can sometimes make it through. I want to close with a story here, and it's one that you certainly wouldn't talk about, but I will. Which I think testifies to your character and your family, which is that you had a patient that had a pretty severe lesion that was going to their eye, if I remember correctly. And you spent a lot of time trying to get this patient appropriately triaged and disposed of, and couldn't really find any resources to get that taken care of on a local basis. But there was a emergency clinic in Miami that was able to handle this kind of issue, but the patient didn't have a whole lot of means. So, as I understand, you and your wife paid for a plane ticket, 2 plane tickets, as a matter of fact, 3 plane tickets, as well as a hotel room, just really out of the goodness and altruism of your heart, in order to make sure that this patient got what they needed desperately in order to get the right thing done. And I think that is really a testament to you, because you don't talk about this. It's not something that you would advertise. I am happy to do this because you wouldn't say that. But I think it really says a lot about you and your character, and your wife too, for where y'all said, well, this is the right thing to do, so of course we're going to do it. We don't have any other choice but to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah, I told him not to call ahead. We're not going to Every other university I called with a picture of it, they're like, nope, we don't do it. We can't do it. So when it came to that last one, I was like, I'm not calling. You're going to go get on a plane and you're going to go to this clinic. And they did, and they took care of him, fortunately. And he's doing great now. So fun times.
Talk about making a difference in somebody. Talk about increasing their joy span.
I think you would do the same.
I don't know. Depends on how expensive the plane flights are. Jeremy Sunseri, tell everybody where they're going to find you.
Sun Dermatology. We are now off of Highway 231, so 645 North, Highway 231.
Awesome.
Right under the water tower.
Right under the water tower. So happy to have you in this community. So happy to have you as a friend. So happy to have you having seen me naked in order to check me for moles and other lesions. And you will do that again.
I blocked that out, so I don't really remember.
I'll show you video. So anyhow, we thank you so much for your leadership, your commitment to all the things that you do for patients. And thank you for helping us make medicine better together.
Thank you, sir, for all you do. We appreciate you.
I'll stop that you.